Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Today we're discussing a model from the Chopard Alpine Eagle collection that expanded the range. The original Alpine Eagle came out in 2019. 1 year later, 2020, Chopard answered with the Alpine Eagle XL Chronograph. Now a two-model line with an automatic and a chronograph, Chopard's reborn St. Moritz design from the 80s was off to a flying start. I should mention that this is far larger than the standard Alpine Eagle, so let's go over the dimensions. The standard Alpine Eagle is a 41. This, in lucent steel, like the original, is a 44. So 44 millimeters in diameter, 13.5 millimeters thick. Then if you measure just the case, the lug-to-lug dimension is 51 millimeters. But if we measure out to the rigid end length, the outermost outcropping on either side, it is a much beefier 58.5 millimeters across the wrist. So just keep that in mind. This wears very much like a 44 or even a 45. Throwing it on my wrist, it is beautiful and it feels built as solid as a tank. I must say the impression of quality and substance, absolutely astounding, impeccable, exemplary, and frankly punching above the price class of the watch. Eyes closed, I'm thinking Royal Oak Offshore. Now my wrist is 16 centimeters circumference, and I'm going to recommend that you wear this watch on a wrist no smaller than mine. Zooming out a little bit, you can see the fit is quite good. And while it's not thin, it's also not super thick. Down the barrel, you can see that the lugs are not out over the edge of my wrist, though they are out to the edge of my wrist. So 16 centimeters circumference and larger. One quality that I hailed on the original Alpine Eagle is recapitulated here as we have this unique bracelet construction where the primary links are visible and the secondary links are not. But in profile, you can see that the secondary links are countersunk into gaps in the profile of each primary link. And on the back of the bracelet, note the fixing screws. Every single link can be removed to precisely size this bracelet. Because there is this unique interlock of primary and secondary links, there is no daylight visible through this bracelet, and it has the least lateral play of any bracelet I've ever encountered. It's also fairly complex in its finish, as we have bevels, polish, satin, and two different planes, as there's a distinct center spline down the center line of the bracelet. So off to a great start in terms of perceived quality. We have a twin trigger, double folding clasp, and it's quite secure. It's a sequential close, so one side closes before the other. About this lucent steel, most stainless steel apparently is going to be somewhere between 175 and 200 Vickers, if we're going to talk about hardness, and this is 223 Vickers. So it's not tool metal, it's not tempered ultra-hard steel or tungsten carbide or anything like that, but it is considerably more scratch resistant than standard 904L or 316 stainless steel. We have here a remarkably complex case, and of course it was of its time. The St. Moritz of 1980 drew on the precedent of York Heisek and Gerald Genta, the Rolex Oyster Quartz series. It was a fully integrated bracelet sports watch, and this takes after that. As a result, it continues to look like Audemars Piguet and Vacheron and Patek Philippe sports watches that are made today, though it is distinctly its own thing, and you can see it has that lovely media blasted and polished screw-down crown with the compass rose design. We have pushers that are faceted with polish and brushed satination, and all over it is a fairly complex shape. It's a more complex case design than, say, the Piaget Polo S. More time went into this, both in terms of crafting and finishing. The dial's been a real highlight on the Alpine Eagles. It has both color and texture, and the color and the texture are both complex. We have that eagle's iris design. Now, I've never gotten close enough to an eagle to know whether this is true to life, but it's certainly impressive, and it's definitely more dynamic and deeper and more rugged than a simple brushed sunburst. We also have sub-registers with polished chapter rings and azurage concentric patterns inside, chronograph seconds, minutes, hours, running seconds, and then we've got a date wheel that's the same color as the dial, a tachymetric scale, so we can gauge the speed of an object moving very quickly, unless you're good with mental decimals, and so that can be used with the chronograph to gauge the speed of a car over a kilometer, for example. Now, this is a column wheel vertical clutch chrono, so the feel of the actuation is positive and crisp. And then because of the vertical clutch, you'll notice the chronograph seconds hand starts without any extraneous motion or jump. It is a seamless engagement because vertical clutches are seamless. You can also leave it engaged full time because vertical clutches create no additional wear or tear. The watch has other functions as well. When you screw the crown out and pull it all the way, you activate hacking seconds. But if you wish, you also have a quick set system so you can rapidly cycle the date. And all credit to Chopard. They sweated the details here. Take a look at the 1 on the tachymeter, on the date disc, and then on the sub-register. They did a respectable job of making sure the font in each case matched. Although you can see right there, the 4 is just a little bit off. Now, taking a quick look at the reverse side, it is a manufacture movement from the Louis-Ulysse Chopard series, but it is not one of the most artisanal. It's competent in its decoration. It's what you would get on, for example, an Omega, or if you were to pop the case back on most of their solid-backed watches, a Rolex, for example. So we have a colomaçonnage, or a snailing, across the bridges, and you can see the column wheel is visible. 4 Hertz beat rate, automatic winding. This is caliber 0305C. C, because it is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer, 5-position adjusted, with the vertical clutch and the column wheel. It's a 45 joule movement. It is both very tough and very accurate, being COSC certified, which is the international ISO 3159 standard. And it looks properly sized for a watch of these dimensions, so there is a nice hand and glove quality there. Chopard might be the most impressive watch brand that people don't discuss when fine options come into play. Priced roughly like Rolex, but in many cases built with the sort of watch nerd attention to detail and offbeat mechanical refinement you would expect of a Zenith or a JLC. Chopard is an appealing prospect. This watch is fairly rugged with 100-meter water resistance, and it's quite well loomed. So this is a versatile option for just about anyone who can fit the substantial dimensions on their wrist. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.